Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, saying that finances is not a Hey there. Welcome to the Radical Godly Stewardship Podcast. This is the show where heaven's economy collides with Earth's assignments. And I am your host, Dr. Lexi Johnson, your financial rebel, your kingdom disruptor, and your accountability coach into obedience. Because around here, we don't beg God for money. Nope, that is not what we do. We align, we obey, we produce, we multiply, we dominate. And if you're ready to steward boldly and think strategically and multiply what Yah has placed in your hands, then you're in the right place. And let's dive in. Okay, this is episode 66. And today we're talking about headlines behind the headlines, right? We're going to talk a little bit about this $300 billion deal. We're going to talk about debt freedom, and we're going to talk about the wealth window. Okay, so today we're talking about something that most people completely missed in the news cycle. Yeah, you missed it. While social media debates rage about politics, culture wars, gender wars, and all these other kind of wars, organizational wars, and all of that, every other distraction, a $300 billion economic deal involving the US and India through Reliance Industries quietly made headlines. And moments like this are why I keep telling you, pay attention to the headlines behind the headlines. Because while people argue about things that divide them, massive economic positioning is happening, and it's happening quietly. So today we're going to unpack what this $3 billion deal means for India, what it means for the United States, what it means for investors and everyday people, why this season is a window for wealth positioning, and how getting out of debt now is one of the most powerful financial moves that you can make. But before we do any of that, we have our stewardship check-in. So let me ask you something honestly. How much time do you spend paying attention to things like cultural outrage? How much time do you spend paying attention to political arguments? How much time do you spend paying attention to social media debates? How much time do you spend doing all of those things versus studying economic movement and opportunity? See, the scripture gives us a powerful warning about distraction. 2 Timothy 2:23 says, "Have nothing to do with foolish, ignorant controversies. You know that they breed quarrels," right? So you are not going to find me in people's comments about one thing or another, going back and forth. You're not going to find me there, right? And it's not that I don't have an opinion about things, but my stance is, if it don't line up with the Bible, I mean, what is there to debate about the Bible, right? What is there to debate? And if I say something, I'm certainly not going to do the back and forth. I don't really like getting into super long posts on social media. I really don't like having those type of conversations in social media, period. I like to have those conversations on the phone or face to face, because you can get a better feel of where the other person is coming from. They can get a better feel of where I'm coming from, besides these little, quips that we're putting out on comments. We're watching clips. We're not even watching full videos. We don't even have all the information about a situation. And, but we got all the comments in the world. We got all the advice in the world. We got, all of it, right? So I have nothing to do with that. It's foolish, right? It's ignorant controversy. If it don't line up with the word of God, it my mind, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and go back and forth with you. So Is That's why Second Timothy tells us to have nothing to do with foolish and ignorant controversies, because they just breed quarrels, and then nobody's listening. Everybody just wants to get their point across, and that's that, right? Titus 3:9 also tells us that we avoid foolish controversies and arguments because these are unprofitable and useless. Now, I don't know about you all, right? But as I mature, and this has nothing to do with age, but as I mature spiritually, I don't have time for foolish controversies and arguments, because I realize that they actually are unprofitable. They actually are useless because they don't get me any closer to the Lord or any further away from the Lord, right? So actually, they get me further away from the Lord, right? They don't get me any closer to the Lord. The principle here is not silence about truth, because we do need to speak up for truth, right? The principle is avoiding distractions that produce division instead of wisdom. And a lot of things and arguments that are going on right now are not producing wisdom, they are producing division, right? Right now, the enemy's most effective strategy is distraction. Because when people are distracted, then they miss economic positioning opportunities and they miss other things. But this is a show about money and how to steward money. Okay. So that is the missed opportunity in this realm, right? Economic positioning. So let's talk about this $300 billion deal, okay, with Reliance. Let's talk about this headline. So, a massive, 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 huge economic partnership involving President Donald Trump, the United States, and India's business giant, Reliance Industries, which is led by Mukesh Ambani. Reliance is one of the largest companies in India, right? And it has influence in telecommunications, energy, retail, technology, infrastructure. This deal, okay, or deal of this scale signals something bigger than just one business agreement. This is not just one business agreement, okay? It signals economic alignment between the United States and India. Now, what does this mean for the US? For the United States, partnerships like this are about supply chain diversification. They're about technology development. They're about energy cooperation. They're about reducing reliance on competing global powers. Listen, Venezuela, we went in there. The president told you they went in there for the oil. Everybody is sitting around arguing about whether the people, this is freedom for the people or not, or whatever. Y'all all out here on these arguments when the president plain outright told you, right? He went in there for the oil. Now that he's accomplished that mission, right? He had to find a refinery who could actually refine the oil in Venezuela because we didn't have those resources, right? India has become a major partner in global technology and manufacturing expansion. This isn't just business, people. This is strategic economic positioning. And let me tell y'all something. India didn't come out of nowhere. They did not come out of nowhere. They have been strategically positioning themselves too for quite some time. Okay. So, what does this mean for India? Well, for India, this type of deal, this type of partnership means that they have increased global influence now. Okay. For a while, like I said, they have been strategically positioning themselves. So now they have this increased global influence. They have technology investment, they have infrastructure development, And now they have stronger positioning in the global supply chain. So, see, India is rapidly becoming one of the most important economic players in the world. And when capital flows between nations like the United States and India, it signals where economic momentum is building. And we need to be paying attention. Now, you might think that this has nothing to do with you, right? This is just some federal level stuff that has nothing to do with you. And I want to tell you, you are incorrect. Okay. That is an ignorant thing to think. So, what does it mean for investors, right? When deals like this happen, they usually affect certain sectors like telecommunications, data infrastructure, AI development, energy, logistics, semiconductor supply chains, right? These deals are about future infrastructure. And so, infrastructure, people, always precedes economic growth. That is the pattern. Okay. So, again, this isn't about chasing headlines, okay, which a lot of you are doing out there. You're chasing headlines and you're chasing headlines that don't really matter at the end of the day. This is about recognizing patterns. That is what this is about. So infrastructure always precedes economic growth. Okay? Now, I want to say more on that, but I also want to stick to my time. Um man. Okay. So we'll leave it there. However, we are going to talk about headlines behind the headline. And I'm going to go back to something that I've talked about already, which is AI and data infrastructure, because here's something that people missed. Many of these international partnerships are happening because of AI expansion, right? AI requires massive data centers, huge energy supply, advanced chips, global connectivity. So the oil in Venezuela and needing to refine it and all that. So we pull in India and all that goes back to having to do with we're putting up all of these massive AI data centers all over the US, and energy is needed. Energy is needed for it. Countries are positioning themselves right now, okay, for this. And I'm going to tell you what this is in a moment. But let me finish telling you what AI requires. So it requires the massive data centers, the huge energy supply, or maybe I've said this already. I think I've said it already. So um, advanced chips and global connectivity. That's what AI requires. So countries are positioning themselves right now for the next technological economy. Why? I already said to you, I don't know why my feel like there's a tag or something in here that's bugging me. Anyway, um, I have already said to you that um, there's also this back and forth between China and the US, and because whoever whoever positions themselves rightly is going to be the world power. So when you see infrastructure deals, when you see technology partnerships, semiconductor investments, energy agreements, when you see all of these things, you are actually seeing the foundation of the next wealth cycle that is being built. And you might say, well, I'm not an investor, and you should be, but we'll talk about that another day. I'm not an investor. So what does that have to do with me? It has everything to do with you. It has everything to do with you if you desire to steward well. If you, as a kingdom citizen, decide to position yourself financially so that you can do the work and support the work of the kingdom, right? This is a wealth window, people. This is a wealth window. And I'm going to tell you why it's a wealth window. This is a period where people keep talking about this wealth transfer thing, as if it's a one-time event. No, there are these periods that come about that are prime for wealth transfer. But wealth transfer, don't get me wrong, can take place anytime you want it to take place because you are the steward, right? So every economic transition creates two groups of people: those who position themselves, right? And then those who react too late. Okay. Because you weren't paying attention to the headlines behind the headlines. This thing is really itching me. Um, you weren't paying attention to the headlines behind the headlines. You were busy in the unfruitful conversations, right? Particularly, some of y'all don't even need to be in these conversations because you need to get your finances together. You need to get your financial household together. Some of you don't need to be in these conversations because you need to get your family together. Some of you don't need to be in these conversations because you need to get your purpose life together. Like there's so much stuff that if we were if we were, you know, deep into the things that we're supposed to be in, we wouldn't have time for those type of conversations. Anyway, two categories of people, two groups of people: one who position themselves, and then those who react too late. Now, this current season that we're in has several indicators of transition. And this is why we pay attention to the headlines behind the headlines. There's global supply chain realignment, AI expansion, geopolitical shifts, energy restructuring, currency pressure. All of these things, these transitions historically create massive wealth transfer opportunities. I said to you before about patterns, right? This is a pattern. Anytime we have seen this, right? It is creating opportunity for massive wealth transfer opportunities. But again, only for the people who are financially prepared, not for the people who are paying attention to all everything other kind of business that don't matter, right? And they're not preparing their households. So, if you're not financially prepared, you're too caught up in everything else that you shouldn't be caught up in, conversations and debates that you shouldn't be caught up in. You're not paying attention, right? Your household has a real issue. And it's not just your household, it's many households that have this issue. Because you're saying, well, how does this $3 billion deal affect me and where I'm at? Well, most of the me's yous out here have a debt problem, right? And debt is the single biggest obstacle preventing people from participating in wealth building. Because debt does three things. Debt, number one, consumes your cash flow. Number two, it limits your investment ability. And number three, it increases financial stress. If you want to participate in the next wealth cycle, because the beginnings of it, I mean, it's started already. Okay. It has started already. You have to reduce the financial drag, the financial burden, we're carrying bags that we don't need to be carrying, right? And so there are practical debt elimination strategies. And here are some real strategies that people overlook, some real steps within a strategy that people overlook. So, number one, debt verification. Before you pay a collection or an old debt, you need to request debt verification. Collectors have to prove that your debt is valid, the amount is correct, and that they have legal authority to collect it. Okay. Many people, when they take time to do this, discover errors or outdated claims. This is why I'm telling people, don't be rushing off when you get your tax refund in. You just, you're going to take all of it and pay off debt. Have you first verified the debt? Because if there is any discrepancy in name, in amount, in, any discrepancy, you can get that thing put off. I mean, like, when I say put off, put away, like cut off, like done for, forgiven, not forgiven, just out of there, right? You don't have to pay for it. So that's the first thing that you do with your debt. You go through a debt verification process. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to negotiate the balance. Okay. Now, debt collectors often buy debt for pennies on the dollar. That means you can often negotiate reduced, lump sum settlements. You can negotiate payment plans. You can negotiate balance reductions. You can do all three, right? Whatever. And you can sometimes negotiate the balance dramatically lower than the original amount. When I'm working with my clients, I often tell them, look, we are going for 30, 40%, 40% reduction. Okay. Start there. Okay. They can always say no, right? But you can ask. Ain't nothing wrong with asking, right? So after you have had the debt verified, then you want to negotiate the balance. The next thing that you want to do is negotiate interest rates. Okay. So if you're dealing with credit cards or lenders, because a lot of times after they've gone to collection, it's probably not any interest accruing on it anymore. But if you're dealing with credit cards or lenders, they haven't gone to collections yet, you're a little behind, you're about to be behind, or you're not even behind, you just got massive debt, right? Call them. Ask for reduced interest rates. Ask for hardship programs. And we don't want to ask for problems, do we? Ask for hardship programs. Okay. These are things that they're not just going to tell you that they have, but most credit card companies have them. Okay. And then ask for a promotional rate adjustment. Okay. Many people don't realize that lenders will actually negotiate to avoid a default. Okay. They will, because they want the money. All right. They want some of that money back they gave you, they loaned you. All right. Number 4, redirect your cash flow. So once debt begins shrinking, you have got to redirect the freed cash. Hear me? Redirect the freed cash. Okay. Most people, what they do is, oh, that loan is paid off, that credit card is paid off. Now I got money to just kind of do what I want with it. No, 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 no. Because what will happen? You'll be right back in debt. And a lot of you know what I'm talking about because you got out of debt and now you're back in it. Okay. Some of you have gone through that cycle 3 times. Okay. So once your debt begins shrinking, you have to redirect that cash that is being freed up, and you redirect it towards first your emergency savings if it's not where it needs to be, second to investing, okay? And then third to income producing assets. Okay? You're going to begin to buy assets that will produce income for you. We're not going out buying shoes and purses and whatever all these other things, TVs and cars and all of that don't produce income. Unless you find a way for it to produce income where it is profitable, that's your free cash should not be going towards that stuff. Okay. This is how your financial momentum builds. Now, listen, you only have to do this for a period of time. Unless you have to, like, you know, not buy things that you just want to buy forever, right? Like you can do that down the line. Right now, this is time for building. That's what time it is. Okay. Proverbs 22:7 reminds us that the borrower is servant to the lender. And that is not condemnation, it is financial wisdom. If you're a borrower, you are a servant to the lender. See, back in Bible times, if someone could not pay off what they owed, they were taken into slavery, their family was taken into slavery. They had to work that thing off. Okay. So realizing that you are a servant right now and not a lender, that's not condemnation. This is wisdom. Okay. You have to confront where you are so that you begin to take the necessary steps to where you want to go. Freedom expands your ability to obey God's assignments. Debt limits it. Some of you, the Lord has been calling you to do some things overseas and you can't do it because you can't even muster up $100, let alone, what might be needed, a few $100, what might be needed to travel overseas. Okay. Some of you are called to do some things right here in the United States, but you can't do it because your debt is limiting you. And if you don't work, you get more debt, right? So it's financial wisdom to get out of debt. Now, there is a window open right now in the global economy. New technology, new alliances, new infrastructure, new wealth cycles. But the people who will benefit most will be the ones who eliminate unnecessary debt, the ones who build solvency and position themselves early. And they pay attention to what's really happening, not just what's trending online. I pray I pray that you are one of the people who are going to benefit from this window of time. I do. I pray that you are one of the people that are going to benefit from this window of time, right? And if you're ready to stop drifting financially and start moving strategically, then I invite you to click on my calendar link, set up an appointment, a 30-minute just a consult so we can have a conversation about where you are, where you want to go, and how I can help you. Okay? This is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. All right? Will there be other times like this? Yes, but things to this magnitude don't come that often, right? So you don't want to just, what, I'll just sit this one out. And you may not be here for this next moment you know, where it's easy. And when I say easy, don't misconstrue what I'm saying because you're going to have to do some work. I'm saying everything is aligned right now. This is the time. Okay. This is the time. All right. So, look in the, uh, description for um, my calendar link, and get yourself on the calendar, okay? So that we can work on this together because you don't have to do it alone. All right. God bless. I'll see you next Thursday at 12:30 Eastern with episode 67, where we'll be talking about more things that are things that we should be paying attention to, right? God bless, and I'll see you next time.